It's no secret that electric vehicles are pretty expensive to manufacture, and as a result they are rarely more affordable than their petrol and diesel counterparts. While the cheaper running costs make up the higher initial outlay over time, this barrier for entry continues to put many motorists off from making the switch. That's where MG comes in, a brand that aims to entice buyers with its range of value for money EVs. This ZS EV is the fully electric version of the brand's best-selling vehicle, and it was the 10th best-selling electric car in the UK in 2021 with over 5,300 registrations. So in today's review we're going to be covering the midlife refresh model that boasts prominent styling changes plus a larger battery pack option for longer range. So is it a better option than pricier alternatives like the Kia e-Niro, Hyundai Kona Electric and the Vauxhall Mokka E, just to name a few? Well, to find out we'll be taking a look at the new design both inside and out. We'll open up the boot and see how much stuff we can cram into it, and we'll take it for a spin. But before we do, click the pop-up banner up there to head over to the OSV website and check out our latest offers on the ZS EV, and click subscribe for more in-depth vehicle reviews like this one. MG went a long way to giving this midlife refresh more individuality and character over its predecessor, and that's exemplified by this restyled front end that features a much more streamlined and less complicated design. And I'm a massive fan of it. The bonnet's sharp contours draw your eyes towards the more aerodynamically designed front grille with a rather unique stamped effect. This is where we find the charging port that now opens sideways, and MG claims it creates a better seal. It supports domestic and rapid charging, and on the right hand side you have a charge status indicator. Other highlights of the front end include the full width chrome strip running along the front bumper, the bifunction LED headlights that come as standard, and I enjoy the new assertive design for these. And if you climb up the range and get one of the trophy models, you're rewarded with rain sensing wipers. Heading round to the side we get a better look at the ZS EV's impressive proportions for the price. It's equivalent in size to other small electric SUVs like the e-Niro and the Kona Electric, and in terms of dimensions it's near identical to its predecessor, but some slight adjustments have been made. Width exactly the same, but this car is 20mm longer and doesn't sit quite as high, and we'll find out later on if that compromises headroom. Reinforcing the car's aerodynamic properties, we have this sleek line starting from the LED headlights and works its way to the rear. We also have the tapered roof line that starts to flow down towards the rear, but before it does, it's stopped by the bulky rear spoiler. We also have the 17-inch aerodynamic alloy wheels, and I like the design on these, but unfortunately you can't get any larger or smaller wheel sizes. The door mirrors are electrically adjustable and folding as standard. You get indicator lights on the side, and with the high spec trophy models you get blind spot monitoring integrated. They'll also be in whatever body colour you've chosen. And up here with a trophy model you'll get silver roof rails, and those house the gorgeous panoramic sunroof. If this exterior colour has caught your eye, it's called Battersea Blue, and I think it's a great fit for the ZS EV. It really pops and works with this body style. There's 4 other colours to choose from as well, including a tri-coat red paint. Very nice. Changes to the rear end reflect those of petrol versions. You get new LED tail lights and a redesigned lower bumper for a more dynamic look. Okay then, so batteries under the floor of EVs often compromise boot space. Let's see what it's like here. I'm glad to say it's not the case. Open up that tailgate and you're rewarded with 470 litres. That's not only 20 litres more than the e-Niro, but more than the petrol ZS. It's rare to see an electric car that has a bigger boot than its petrol equivalent, and you most certainly will not find a larger boot capacity with an EV at this price point. It has a nice square shape and size, making it convenient to load those awkwardly sized objects into the back. And one of the highlight features here is the height adjustable boot floor, which allows you to create more depth. Lift it up and you're rewarded with a nice space underneath for your charging cables. If I'm being really nitpicky, I would have liked another level for this so I can have it flush with the entrance to the boot. That certainly would have been nice to have, as if you need to load heavy luggage into the back like this carry-on suitcase, you need to lift it fairly high to get over that loading lip. Once it's in though, it fits nice and snug. Easily enough space in there for 3 to 4 of those carry-on luggage, and any other objects you can place in the compartments on the left or right hand side. If you need to extend boot capacity to fit a buggy or a bike in the back, you'll have to fold down the rear seats. You can do from the boot, but it's a bit of a faff if you've got the bulky parcel shelf up. Let's just take it out of here. I didn't actually mean to rip those bits off. Just pull these straps at the top of the rear bench and give them a bit of welly because they're not spring loaded. And then the seats will fold in a 60-40 arrangement. This extends luggage capacity to around 1,100 litres, and it means that you can sit one or a couple of passengers in the back while having one of the benches folded down to slide objects through into the cabin. If I'm nitpicking though, I would like those seats to fold completely flat. They're at a slight incline and there's a tiny gap in the floor as well. Overall though, an excellent boot space for not just an SUV, but an electric SUV at this price point. Right, as you can see, it's absolutely chucking it down, so a great time to hop in and take the long range version for a spin. Okay guys, we're behind the wheel of the ZS EV now, and I'll start by saying if you're looking for an incredibly easy electric car to drive, this car will tick that box for you. Whether you're moseying around town or you're up to speed on a motorway, both experiences are going to be rather relaxing and pleasant, and that's thanks to the instant hit of torque you get when you put your foot down on the accelerator and the effective implementation of regenerative braking, and I'll talk more about that a bit later on. There's two battery options available, standard and long range. With standard range you get a 51.4 kilowatt hour battery pack, and this is equipped with lithium ion batteries, and these are water cooled. MG says they've been optimized for range and charging in all weather conditions. This is mated to two electric motors powering the front wheels, generating 173 horsepower and 280 newton meters of torque for a respectable 0 to 60 miles per hour time of 8 seconds. Indeed, performance isn't one of the ZS EV's strongest areas, but those electric motors are responsive, allowing you to generate enough oomph to get off the block and nip into those tight gaps in traffic and build up enough speed to overtake a slow moving left lane. Let's talk about range. MG claims you can achieve up to 198 miles, but of course this is going to depend on a variety of conditions. They also quote a city driving range of up to 273 miles. It's highly unlikely you're going to be able to achieve this, but it's good to know that you could achieve in excess of 200 miles of range depending on your driving style and the conditions in which you drive your ZS EV. We then have the larger battery option. You get a much beefier 72.6 kilowatt hour battery pack under the floor of the car, but at the cost of longer range here, performance is slightly reduced. So those electric motors are still powering the front wheels, but they're now producing 153 horsepower, still 280 newton meters of torque, but this drops the 0 to 60 time down to just 8.2 seconds, so not too much of a decrease there. In return, electric range is boosted all the way up to 273 miles. This is brilliant and just shy of the Kia e-Niro's 282 mile range. And if you want to find out more about how that car drives, click the pop-out banner above. So taking a look at the trick computer in front of me, it says I'm averaging 3.6 miles per kilowatt hour. So if we times that by the battery capacity, the average electric range that I'm achieving at the moment is 259 miles, so just shy of that figure, but I'm going to put this down to my driving style and the weather conditions. The ZS EV is the first car in MG's range to have a towing capacity. It can tow small trailers and cycle carriers up to 500 kilograms, but bearing in mind this is going to greatly impact electric range. The ZS EV is an excellent company car option because for 2022 to 2023 it's placed in the 2% benefit in kind band, so business users can take advantage of some great tax benefits there. Because this car's fully electric and outputs 0 grams per kilometre of CO2, it's also exempt from congestion charges in London, as well as ultra low emission zones you'll find in the majority of UK cities now, and you won't have to pay any vehicle excise duty. Charging times: if you plug your ZS EV into a conventional 3-pin plug at your house, it's going to take around 25 hours to charge the standard range model from 0 to 100%, or 34 hours for the long range. Sounds like a long time, and it is, but this is pretty standard for an electric car. If you want the charging times to be a bit faster, consider installing a 7 kilowatt wall box either in your garage or outside your house. These will reduce charging times for 8 hours for the standard range model, or 10.5 hours for long range. The ZS EV supports rapid charging capability. That means you can plug it into a 50 kilowatt charger you'll typically find at a supermarket car park. This will enable a 10 to 80% charge in 54 minutes for standard range and 63 minutes for long range. Should be more than enough time for your weekly grocery shop, possibly grab a coffee and then be on your way for your journey home. If you're looking for an EV that you can charge quickly at motorway service stations for those longer journeys, then the ZS EV supports 100 kilowatt rapid charging for a 10 to 80% charge in around 36 minutes for standard range and 43 minutes for long range. So once you've grabbed a bit of lunch, you can be on your way to finish your journey. There's 4 different driving modes on offer here, guys. They'll be very familiar to you. You've got Eco, and this helps you maximize driving range as much as possible. Normal is the mode that you're going to want to have your ZS EV in for the majority of your time. It provides that good balance between range and performance. And then Sport, you'll want to stick it in this mode for when you need to move out quickly from a junction or overtake a car in the left lane at a rapid pace. It also adds a bit of weight to the steering, but it feels somewhat artificial and doesn't improve the responsiveness of the drive. Then we have KERS, the Kinetic Energy Recovery System, and yes, it does sound like something out of 2001: A Space Odyssey, but this provides 3 levels of regenerative braking to enhance efficiency and extend range. I've been driving for the majority of my time in the highest level, level 3, and it's quite harsh, so it takes a bit of time to get used to, but when you lift up on the accelerator like I'm doing now, the car starts to slow down quite dramatically, and I'm rarely having to use the brake, only if I need to come to a complete stop. Worth noting though, you can't drive the ZS EV entirely using the accelerator pedal like you can with the Nissan Leaf or the Nissan Qashqai e-Power. According to MG, the ZS EV chassis has been designed, engineered and tuned specifically for British roads to provide a balance of comfort and ease of use. As such, the suspension here has been softly tuned, nicely absorbing large humps and bumps by bouncing over them, as you could just see there, and preventing undulations from vibrating throughout the cabin. However, you'll find on country lanes and B roads the ride can unsettle as the car struggles to deal with harsher abrasions. Indeed, issues with body rigidity extend into the handling side of the performance. When navigating through a tight corner or bend, you'll notice quite a lot of body lean. You may find yourself in the corner over here. The side bolsters are prominent, but they could be more prominent just to help you hold you in place a bit better. Indeed, heavy batteries under the floor mean handling is rarely a strong point for an electric SUV, especially at this price point. As a result, the car just doesn't feel as nimble as its combustion-powered sibling, but we do need to bear in mind that those batteries are adding an additional 1/4 of a ton of weight. The steering is incredibly light. In fact, it's one of the lightest steering configurations I've come across in a new car. That makes this rather bulky SUV easy to maneuver around town and into and out of those tight parking gaps. But unfortunately, the cost here is feel and feedback. There's hardly any engagement with those front wheels, and the steering wheel itself is far too keen with centering itself, which really does put you off the drive. As a result, this car was just not as engaging to drive as some of its rivals. Even if you put the car in sport mode and that adds some extra weight to the steering here, it doesn't make it feel any more responsive. The pedals are good though, they're nicely lined up with my feet, and it's easy to judge how much pressure you need to apply the brake in order to slow down. The accelerator's nice and firm, and in tandem with the regen braking modes, it's easy to find which one of those best suits your driving style. The new motor, introduced with the 2021 facelift model, is noticeably quieter than before, but it still whines, especially at those slower speeds when moving off the block. Wind and road noise is prevalent at speeds above 70 miles an hour on the motorway, and sadly not much can be done about the road noise, as the 17-inch alloys are the only wheel size that you can get with the ZS EV. Forward visibility is very good. You sit nice and high up in this car. It's going to be too high for some, and at times I feel like my head is about to poke out the top of that sunroof, but you get a good view over the bonnet, and the windscreen is nice and large. Thin side pillars don't create too much of a blind spot at junctions and traffic lights. If I'm being very nitpicky, I wish the mirrors were a bit larger. I do get a good view of what's behind me, but I would expect larger mirrors for a vehicle of this class. The view out the rear window isn't too bad at all, but the main downside here is the view over my shoulder. There's very chunky rear pillars, so it's a good thing that you get rear parking sensors and a 360-degree parking camera as standard. When the ZS EV was assessed by Euro NCAP, it was awarded the maximum 5 stars, scoring highly in the child and adult occupant categories. Indeed, safety is something that MG prioritises very heavily, and as such, the MG Pilot driver assistance pack comes as standard across their range now. This includes features such as adaptive cruise control, high beam assist, lane keep assist and lane departure warning, and automatic emergency braking with pedestrian and cyclist detection. Just 2 of these safety features are locked behind high-grade trophy models. These are rear cross-traffic alert, helpful for when manoeuvring out of a tight parking space, and blind spot monitoring that alerts you of cars in your rear lateral blind spot via a visual signal on the door mirrors. MG's warranty is one of the best offered by a manufacturer in the UK. It covers the car for 7 years or 80,000 miles, whichever comes first, and this includes coverage for the lithium-ion battery. They will replace or repair the battery if it falls 70% below its as-new performance. The ZS EV comes equipped with a 360-degree parking camera as standard, which I'm just going to show off for you now. Stick that into reverse. As you can see then, guys, the graphics aren't particularly sharp. Admittedly, it has been a pretty horrible rainy day, so there's a bit of mud and dirt on the camera which you'll need to clean off occasionally, but it's not as high-res a display as I've seen with equivalent vehicles from this class, but it does the job. Those guidelines help you navigate into those tight parking gaps. Like revisions made to the exterior design, the inside has been updated to mirror what's seen in the new petrol version, and I'm very impressed with the variety of the materials on offer inside here, considering this vehicle's price point. You've got soft touch up here on the dash, this leather effect trim running across and behind the infotainment system and on the doors and center console, and there's some hard plastics dotted around as well. It creates quite a premium feel for this car that was lacking with its predecessor. The cabin feels well built too. The center console doesn't shake or rattle around while on the go. The buttons are clicky and tactile, and I like the design of those turbine-like air vents. As standard, the seats are upholstered in fabric and you get 6-way manual adjustability. Climbing up the range for those trophy models, you get a leather effect trim with contrast red stitching. The front seats are heated and you get 6-way electric adjustment for the driver's seat. Indeed, the adjustability and space on offer in the front gives you a great amount of flexibility to find a comfortable position for you. You can come forward and back. There's plenty of leg room for drivers 6 foot and over. You won't find your knees stretched in any way, and you can pump yourself up high up to get a nice commanding view of the road ahead. Headroom's pretty good. I'm 5'8", and if I sit up, I am miles away from the top of the roof there. Worth noting, we've gone with the panoramic sunroof that you get with higher grade trophy models, letting lots of light into the cabin. Typically, these trim a couple of centimeters off the roof lining, so it's especially impressive that I've still got loads of space to work with. Drive is 6 foot over. This isn't going to be an issue for you. Dotted around this front space, I've got controls to electrically adjust the door mirrors, automatically adjust the headlights, and I've got my start-stop button behind the steering wheel. There's nice grippy leather on the steering wheel, and it's good to see the contrast stitching on here too. But there's no reach adjustment. You can only move it up and down, not in and out. Behind the wheel, we have the new digital driver display that shows key information such as how efficient you're being on your journey and how much range you've got left in your battery right in front of you as you're on the move. Customization options are limited, and it's not as complicated as other driver displays out there, but it's functional and does the job. Complementing this is the new 10.1-inch colour touchscreen that replaces the 8-inch dashboard unit found with the last model, and I'm pleased to say this system is a lot better. You get DAB radio, Bluetooth, satellite navigation, plus wired Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Compared to what we experienced with the MG5 EV, this setup is responsive, easy to use and intuitive. The UI has been overhauled, so you've got all your essential menus displayed on the home screen. Navigating between them doesn't take too long to load. There is a slight bit of input delay, perhaps around half a second or so for some functions, notably when adjusting the intensity and temperature of the air conditioning. That takes a bit of time to register on the display, but it's a massive improvement over what we had before. Some of my nitpicks are that this screen is still mounted quite low down on the dashboard, so you have to take your eyes away from the road to glance down at it. Simply would just like this to be higher up. The screen itself isn't great at absorbing glare, particularly on bright summer days, and if you've opted for the sunroof, some of those options on the left-hand side will be tricky to make out. And I like the design of these piano key buttons. Unlike those in the HS plug-in hybrid, you can actually flick them up now, which is great. However, the home button for some reason is located to the far left-hand side. Makes sense for this to be in the middle. Complementing the infotainment is the standard 6-speaker audio system. Climbing up the range to the higher spec trophy models, and you'll get a 3D audio setup that may be more suitable for those audiophiles out there. Air conditioning comes as standard, and with trophy models you get an odour and pollutant filter. It's nice to see that the majority of the controls are physical buttons, however there is some functionality incorporated into the display. Using a smartphone, you can download the MG iSmart app to remotely schedule charging at the most convenient time, lock or unlock the car via Bluetooth, and preheat or pre-cool the cabin ready for when you step inside. In the center console, we've got a capacious cubby hole, perfect for smartphones, and with the trophy models you get a wireless phone charging pad down there. This is complemented by a 12-volt socket, a USB-C port for charging a phone, and a standard USB-A port for smartphone mirroring. Working our way down, we have the drive mode select buttons, the rotary gear selector, and the electronic parking brake. There's a couple of cup holders here, nicely fit my large bulky bottle nice and snug, and the other one is an ideal place for your keys. You can also shut that compartment if you want. You get a rather generous center compartment that goes down quite deep. Sadly, there's no USB ports or 12-volt sockets in here, but it's an ideal place for your snacks. Let's have a look at this glove box. Nice size on that. Easily fits the manuals and other bits that you want to keep out of prying eyes. And the door bins are a really good size too, easily swallowing this bottle. So rear space is one of the areas that most EVs struggle with. In order to accommodate the large batteries under the floor, the height needs to be raised, and that often creates a rather cramped rear cabin. But what's it like in the MG ZS EV compared to rivals like the Kia Niro? Let's go take a look. So upon hopping in to the rear cabin, you'll notice that my knees are quite high up due to the raised floor. On longer journeys, this could create some discomfort as you're sitting in a rather awkward position. But thanks to the upholstery used for the leather seats in those higher spec trims, they do a great job at supporting you, and they're actually quite comfortable. Legroom's not too bad. I can't stretch out all the way, but the upholstery on the seat in front of me is nicely cosseting my legs. Headroom is going to be a different story for passengers who are 6 foot over. They might just be touching the top there as the roof starts to swoop down towards the rear. It's really easy to load bulky kids seats into the back because the doors open around 70 degrees wide and the roof line is high as well. Once you've got the kids seat through, you can attach it to the ISOFIX fittings on either of the rear seats. However, these are the annoying fittings that you have to push the seat far in for it to attach, and that can be a bit of a faff. We have our lovely foldy downy middle seaty thingy rewarding us with a couple of cup holders as well. They appear quite small though. Let's try and fit my bottle in there. No way that's happening, but for a smaller coffee cup, that'd be absolutely fine. Also doubles as an armrest, that does. You also get an air conditioning cluster. You can't adjust anything here, no, not even the temperature or the air intensity. But to make up for that, we get a USB port and a USB-C port. Other niceties include the pouches on the back of the front seats. They go down quite far, and the door bins are just as spacious as they are in the front. Middle seat time, let's slide on over. So comfort wise, not too bad. I mean, the plastic is digging into my back a bit, but it's not creating too much discomfort. The best bit about this is the floor's completely flat. There's hardly any transmission tunnel, so I can stretch out to a reasonable degree. That means longer journeys could be possible for the middle passenger with the ZS EV, and that's rarely something I say, especially for an electric car. It's time to run through the pricing and trim levels available with the ZS EV. Entry-level SE trims start from £29,245, and you get the MG Pilot Safety Pack, this 10.1-inch colour touchscreen, automatic air conditioning, and a 360-degree parking camera. Trophy trims start from £31,495, and you get leather-style upholstery for the seats and that nice stitching. The driver's seat is electrically adjustable. You get that panoramic sky roof, plus a wireless phone charger. Top spec Trophy Connect trims start from around £32,000, and it's not a huge jump up over Trophy, just adding more functionality into that display. You get live weather and traffic updates, plus the ability to stream via Amazon Music. If you need a hand finding your perfect trim, get in touch with our team via the link in the description below. So, should you buy, lease or finance the new MG ZS EV? Well, there's an awful lot to like about this electric SUV. Excellent boot space, generous passenger space, good infotainment system, long warranty and great electric range make this one of the best options in its segment. Plus, it's more affordable than its key rivals. My issues lie with the drive. The steering is too light for my taste. It can get quite noisy inside the cabin at higher speeds, and it's not as comfortable as equivalent rivals, but I would expect much worse at this price point. If this review has piqued your interest in the ZS EV, then get in touch with OSV's vehicle specialist via the number in the banner below. We'll explore your options, find the spec that perfectly meets your needs and secure that for delivery. Alternatively, you can just click the pop-out banner up there or the link in the description to head over to our website and check out the latest offers we have on this car. Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already done so, and click the bell so you'll know when we upload our next review. But that's it for today. Thanks for watching, take care and safe driving.